How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today we're going to navigate some of these suburbs and neighborhoods of Denver, Colorado to figure out how to find the perfect fit for you, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everson. Listener, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons of moving to or around the Denver metro or Front Range area for that matter, this is the channel for you. So make sure you click on that subscribe button as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And as much as I try to be a little informative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of the state's most talented realtors who are helping people move here each and every day. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person. Answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're here for, and that is navigating the neighborhoods and suburbs of Denver to find the perfect fit for you. So in the 3+ years that I've been making these videos, I cannot tell you how many phone calls and texts I have gotten from people who just genuinely don't know where to start figuring out where they're going to live in Denver. And this includes people who have spent a period of time here before. I think it's one thing if someone has lived here before or someone who has experienced an extended period of time here. But when you've only been here maybe a few weeks here and there on vacation, and then you're talking about living somewhere, that's just a different decision. So we're going to talk about some initial steps that have helped people get ready to make their move to Denver. And then we're going to talk about some general areas that you might want to consider depending on your lifestyle. So if you're single or you're a couple or you're a family, etc., we'll talk about some certain areas. Again, that's not to say that you have to be in that specific point in life to live in that specific area, but just something to where you have an idea of maybe a few places to start with and then expand your search from there. And I would imagine as we go through this list, some of you are going to say, well, no duh, of course we're going to do this. But we're kind of coming from an idea that you have not moved before, that this is a unique experience for you. So genuinely, the first thing that someone needs to do when they're thinking about moving to Denver is they need to identify their priorities and their lifestyle needs. So when I have conversations with people, it is a vastly different conversation with someone who is moving from a city where they walk out their front door and everything is right there, or maybe somebody who drives 5 to 10 minutes to get to their work, to someone who is used to living deep in the suburbs, or someone who is used to making a 45-minute to hour-long commute. It's very different for someone who is moving from a city like San Francisco or Seattle or Manhattan, where they're not mind blown by rent that could be $4,000 or $5,000, as opposed to somebody who is moving here from Canton, Ohio, where they might have been renting a place for $900 to $1,000. So it really depends on where you're coming from. Identifying those priorities and those needs. Next up is identifying and figuring out your budget. And this comes down, especially when it comes to housing, to a monthly payment. I don't care if you are buying something or you are renting something. Knowing how much you can afford to spend each month on that cost is a huge factor, because it's obviously going to play a role in what you buy or what you rent and what areas you can explore. One thing I am going to stress, if you are coming from an area that is more expensive than Denver, sure, you can anticipate that you're probably going to be able to cut that cost down a bit. If you are coming from an area of the country that is less expensive than Denver, you have to swallow the fact that odds are you are going to pay more for rent and you are going to pay more for that mortgage payment each month. Not to say it's for certain, but all too often I have a conversation with someone who pays $2,000 here and wants to pay $2,000 there, and that is a tough fit. So really getting an idea of what your budget is, where you live now, and what it might look like as you move to Denver. Next up, I would talk about commute and transportation. Denver is a city that by and large requires people to have a car. Now, we do have some light rail. We've got a pretty good bus system. The light rail is useful, to me at least, it's useful if you live near one of the light rail lines. And those run, for instance, on the west side of town. If you're near Old Town Arvada or you're near downtown Littleton, they have stations right there. Great hub. Golden, there's a lot of areas that are very convenient for the light rail there. If you're not near that, you're not going to use it. Odds are in Denver, especially if you have, a distance, I'd say 15 minutes or more from your work, you're going to need a car. So working through that transportation making sure you understand that most people moving here, they expect that. I don't think that's stunning for a lot of folks, but just to have that covered. Next, what does your lifestyle look like? We talked about priorities early on, but really, what do you enjoy? Are you a night owl? Do you like going out to clubs and restaurants? Are you going to bars? Do you like a lot of concerts? Do you like a lot of sporting venues? Are you more, outdoors? And listen, of course, people are going to be a blend. Are you, kind of a big outdoors? You want to make sure you're getting into the mountains a lot. You want to be on trails. Maybe you want to be close to gyms. Maybe you're a huge art person. Really knowing what you enjoy out of life. I've talked to some people where walkability to actual, shops and restaurants is huge for them. And other people where they don't care about that. They want to be able to walk to maybe a park or something like that, but they're not too concerned with being able to walk to a restaurant. They'll drive 10, 15 minutes for that. Next, and again, this is kind of a lifestyle or life stage, if you will, family considerations. Moving when it's just you certainly can be daunting and scary. You're moving to a place where you don't know anybody, but some of the considerations you might have to take as a family moving somewhere. The different neighborhoods, different schools, different access points, what schools will accept certain kids in certain areas, all of those things. So working through those considerations and the specific needs of your family within that community. And I will say this, because a lot of people, when they're thinking about neighborhoods and they don't have a family, and even if they don't plan to have a family, they think, well, what do I care about school districts? Well, especially if you are thinking about buying a house, school districts and what's happening in those communities is important to home value. It's a huge factor. So whether you have a family, are planning for a family, or just thinking about being a part of a community for a period of time, those things matter, and I would still take them into consideration whether they impact you directly or indirectly. And obviously, you're going to want to consider safety in the community you are living in. And I know, listen, that's a tough thing to do, especially from a distance. You can do a lot of research online. You can see, crime stats and these different things. You don't really know until you're in an area, until you're talking to people who live there, until you experience it. And I am a firm believer. I've lived in a lot of different areas in this country, and I think that every single town has certain areas where it's a little sketchier than others. Denver and its suburbs are no different. I live in Lakewood, Colorado. I consider my neighborhood very safe. I feel comfortable with my family. I know that there are areas of Lakewood that are not too terribly far from me where I probably wouldn't feel as comfortable taking my daughter on a walk in the evening. So being aware of that and asking a lot of questions, crucial for your success. And at the end of the day, I want you and the people that are going to help you move here want you to feel good about the community you're living in. And last thing I would mention as far as the planning stage is really asking questions about the future of a community. Now, you have some areas that have just kind of been the same. They've been established. They're there. Not a whole lot is going to change. I use the community I grew up in, Green Mountain in Lakewood. Hasn't changed since I was a kid in the 80s. Granted, some small nuances, but nothing major. And then you have some communities in the Denver metro where there's a lot of new construction. There's a lot of development. There are a lot of things changing. So really asking questions about what is the future of this area, and is there anything, at least in the time span you might consider moving there, that is going to impact you about those changes. Now, the second phase of this is obviously looking at different areas that might fit your criteria. And so I have a few for, again, different segments of life. And again, I'm going to emphasize this. It's not to say we're going to start with people who are single. It's not to say that you have to be single to live in any of these areas, or that these areas are only good for single, or that a single person wouldn't enjoy somewhere else. Having said that, a few of the communities that I would look at, if I were single, if I wanted to meet some people and be out and about, is 5 Points or River North, Rhino, as it's called, and these are two different areas, but we'll talk about Rhino in general. Great downtown area, really quick access to lower downtown where a lot of the clubs are. A lot of restaurants, a lot of art, a ton of walkability. Some really cool living options there. You have some single family homes, but you got some great townhomes, great condos, brand new, build apartments. So a lot going on there, and a really growing environment, and just an area that's very popular, especially for young professionals. You'll get a ton of young professionals living in that area. And kind of keeping my single folk towards downtown, not to say that you wouldn't enjoy the suburbs. It's getting a little quiet. I would look at Cap Hill. Cap Hill is one of my absolute favorite neighborhoods. They're in the heart of downtown. right next to the Capitol building. Again, all of these communities we're talking about with singles, very walkable. So Cap Hill, you got Cheeseman Park right there. You've got Colfax, which has a lot of restaurants and music venues, not too far off from Broadway. You're right across Colfax from Uptown, which is another really cool community filled with some walking strips with restaurants and bars and things to do. So just a lot happening in that area. Cap Hill is going to be one of the most walkable areas in Denver. And again, you're downtown. You got the skyscrapers right there. You're kind of in the heart of it. And then next up, the Highlands. Now, I'm going to preface, the Highlands is pricey. So when we're talking about a person by themselves affording it, might be on a stretch, but if you can afford it, of all the communities in Denver, I am probably the biggest fan of the Highlands. Located just west of downtown Denver, right across I-25. The Highlands stretches from I-25 up to Sheridan Boulevard to the west. So you've got the lower Highlands, you've got the Highlands, you've got West Highlands. Just a ton of walkability, a lot to do. The Highlands is kind of one of those communities. I lived in an area very close to the Highlands called Sloan's Lake, which is also just west of Denver and south of the Highlands. Living in Sloan's Lake for 10 years, I cannot tell you how often it was very routine for us to go to the Highlands night after night after night. Some of your best restaurants, some of your best bars, and just great communities. And again, a variety of different living options from single family homes, apartments, townhomes, condos. You'll find it in the Highlands. Now, what if you're a couple? What if you're, kind of moving to a new state and you want to experience some stuff as a couple? Again, I'm going to apologize in advance because some of these areas can be pricey. But, if in a perfect world, if I'm a couple, I'm looking at Wash Park, one of the best neighborhoods in all of Denver, and one of, if not the most popular parks in all of Denver. Somebody might call it Washington Park. I think somebody actually said it was lazy to call it Wash Park, and I don't know. I've always heard Wash Park, even growing up here. But Wash Park, Washington Park, just a fantastic place. You go to that park on a sunny summer Saturday afternoon, it's packed. There are people everywhere, and just a great neighborhood, good walkability, some different restaurants, shops, just a great environment, very desired neighborhood. And Wash Park is certainly one that I would tell, anyone. Might be a little calm for a single person. I don't know how I feel about that. Walking around Wash Park for single, probably not a bad place to meet people, and fantastic for families as well. Listen, it's going to cater to a lot of different lifestyles. Next up, just south of downtown Denver, is an area called Baker. Again, a lot of different living variations. You are right along Broadway, so a lot to do there, a lot of walkability, a lot of things to just enjoy as a couple, and some really great neighborhoods within Baker. A lot of great housing options within Baker. And I always have to give a shout out to Brewery Bar 2, the greatest Mexican restaurant that I love, greatest green chili in all of Denver. And then an area that has just grown on me over the years, that's Platt Park, which is a little farther south from Baker. Platt Park runs along South Broadway, which again is one of the more desired, fun areas to explore. You've got great neighborhoods through Platt Park. Platt Park itself is pretty small. A really quick jump over to Wash Park. You could almost interchange these. I could have said, a couple go to Platt Park. And, Platt Park is another one of those neighborhoods that's interchangeable. When I talked about Wash Park would be, pretty cool for a couple, might be, better for a family. Platt Park kind of in that same element. Great for couples. Got a lot of homes there that have been rented by, a bunch of single people that are living together, and then great for families. In Platt Park, you have Pearl Street, not to be confused with the Pearl Street in Boulder, which is probably the most walkable road in all of the Denver Metro. But Pearl Street in Platt Park is fantastic. Multiple blocks, restaurants, shops, locally owned businesses, a lot of craft places. And the thing I love about it is it's not just businesses. So along that, you'll have a school, you'll have different houses, you'll have a lot of different things going on along Pearl Street, ice cream parlors, you name it. Just a fantastic place to spend a nice day out. One of the most great walkable areas, and a fantastic farmer's market during the summer as well. Now, families, I went a little quieter. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but Wash Park, Platt Park, these are great places for families as well. Not to say you don't have families living, in Rhino, but Talking families, we went a little more suburb. Among the top suburbs that are going to come up on your radar is Highlands Ranch. It's kind of the quintessential suburb, if you will. One of the first master planned developments in the Denver area. Most of it built in the mid-90s going into the early 2000s. So not a lot of new construction there. But Highlands Ranch is going to hit a lot of those key family points. You're going to have a lot of amenities, recreational centers, stores, everything, again, really thought through. Well done as far as these communities and the trails and parks and outdoor areas. Safe. You're going to hear that word a lot in Highlands Ranch, that people feel safe and overall a really comfortable community to exist in. And then schools. Highlands Ranch is going to rank pretty high on schools. Again, individual research for the school you put your kiddo into. But Highlands Ranch, when it comes to suburbs, really tough to beat. It's consistently going to be one of the most desired suburbs for families in the Denver metro area. Couple others also south of Denver is Centennial, right near Greenwood Village. Those two kind of interlap. Centennial is home to an airport, so that's one of the reasons why I have very limited drone footage of it. It's tough to take off a drone when there's private jets taking off all over the place. But Centennial, just a great suburb, really good access again to the Denver Tech Center, to Denver, good neighborhoods, good schools. Some of those schools are going to be covered by Cherry Creek School District. You have some in Douglas County, so just a really cool area overall. But Centennial will rise to the list for a lot of folks. And excuse me, I said Douglas County School District, meant to say Littleton Public School. So overall, between those two, some very great school options. And then last up for families, I would mention Arvada, Colorado, which is northwest of Denver, about 15-20 minutes from downtown. Old Town Arvada, just a lot of fun. You want to talk about a great environment for families. Some roads that are just blocked off for foot traffic only. Lots to do. Again, I always mention that summer day. People get out in the winter as well, but just a great environment there. And then Arvada, I always make the joke, you get into Farvada. That suburb really stretches. You get to areas where there's a lot of new construction, a lot of new communities, and a ton to do outdoors. Arvada's really pretty. You got right there with the foothills, so a great place to explore. Schools covered by Jefferson County school districts, some great neighborhoods, and again, you just talk about that comfortable environment to raise your family in. Now, what about my folks that are thinking about retiring or maybe have already retired and they're coming to Colorado? Well, in that case, I'm going to give you some of my favorite communities and some of the communities that my retired clients and friends have talked to me about. First off, Golden, Colorado, located west of Denver, about 20 to 25 to 30 minutes. Golden kind of stretches farther west, so you could be 15 minutes from downtown. You could be more than 30 to 45 minutes from downtown. But just a great town. Lots to do, just a great town with lots to do, and really just kind of caters. So you could have like some quiet days at the cafe, you got some great centers to go to, a lot of art, a lot of walkability. You've got just a very majestic community. It's very pretty in Golden, so a lot to do there. And a lot of like local events within the community. A lot going on with festivals, farmers markets, just a really warm environment. And so I've had some retired folks come out here and decide that that's, they didn't want to be too far into the mountains, but they wanted to have that mountain feel, and Golden checked the box for them. Next up on the list, and not just because I live here, but Lakewood, Colorado, of course, me living here, I mean, that's a bonus for anyone that wants to move here. I kid. But some great communities, some great retirement centers, some great communities, 55 and up, etc. Same with Littleton, which we'll talk about next. But again, a lot of golf here in Lakewood, a lot of outdoor activities, a lot of great condos and apartments for folks. So Lakewood has been very popular. And then, as I alluded to, Littleton, Colorado. So a lot on the west side of town. Again, a lot of that is visual. I think, you got the Rocky Mountains, you got that quick access, but you just have, some great views, very, very, nice areas to live in. So Littleton, you'll have downtown Littleton, just, again, a great area to spend some days in and enjoy yourself and not have the hustle and bustle that Denver might have. Golden, I mentioned, has a great downtown area. Lakewood does not. It's kind of one of the things that misses. It does have Belmar shopping, not too far from us. But Littleton has that great downtown stretch. I always have to tell this, and that story, I always have to talk about this when I talk about Littleton, especially if I'm going to talk about retirement communities. So Littleton has a 55 and up community in it, and on the first floor of that building, and it's great. They've got pools, they've got all sorts of I mean, I've had a few people move into it and they rave. On the first floor is a Bacon Social. It's a restaurant that serves bacon, and it's fantastic. I enjoy going there. Do not judge me too harshly for this. Instead of calling it happy hour, they call it early bird specials, and they have the best early bird specials ever. So you can go there, get some nice, cocktails, some delicious bacon. They serve more than just that as far as food. It's a community that I want to live in. I'm not too far off being able to qualify. And then last, and to be brief, we'll talk about areas that might hit on the affordability kick, because obviously affordability is going to be a key issue no matter where you are in life. So if we're talking about some of the more affordable, and that's not to say bad by any means, we're talking about some of the more affordable areas. Aurora, located east of Denver. It's the largest suburb of all of Denver. It's actually the third largest city in the state of Colorado. So Aurora will have plenty of options. It's such a huge suburb. You'll have some areas there that offer some affordability. And still, again, you have quick access to Denver. You can still get into the mountains even though you're on the east side of town. So a lot going for Aurora in that way. And Aurora has a variety. You have some older communities that have been around for decades, turn to the getting into the 1900s. And then a lot of new construction areas like South Shore, Aurora Highlands, where you can be in brand new developments. And then north of Denver, two communities, Westminster and Thornton, both, I wouldn't say interchangeable, but both connected. Again, some great neighborhoods, a mix of older communities and newer, great shopping areas, great walkable areas within them. And, a lot of people will go to those areas. When we compare an Aurora, a Westminster, a Thornton to areas like a Wash Park, a Platt Park, a Golden, certainly going to hit more affordable areas there. Not to say cheap by any means. The Denver metro area is not an inexpensive place to live, but you will have some affordability opportunities there. And I would throw in, last but not least, south of Denver, check out Englewood, Colorado, which will have some of that same. Again, some older neighborhoods, some newer, a lot going for it there. And Englewood has a stretch of road there in downtown Englewood with a lot to do. An area where Broadway and Hamden cross that road. There's a huge area for businesses thriving, a lot of apartments, great places to live. So Englewood will be another place you will want to explore. To wrap up and try to be fast, just to kind of give you some reference points or some things you might want to use, definitely check out Zillow, check out Redfin for some of these homes and their home prices. For different neighborhoods, Neighborhood Scout, niche.com can be very helpful for that. If we're talking about walkability, check out WalkScore. If we're talking about schools, check out Great Schools, their website. And then as you get into the cities and the counties, make sure you're checking out that city and county website, see what resources might be there. And then the last thing I would mention is, as again, you're trying to visit these communities, I would try, within reason, I know, it's not like people have months to do their research. I would try to visit them at different times of the day. Try to poke out in the morning, afternoon, evening, just different times to see different things, see that variation. But overall, some places for you to consider and some resources for you to use. And last, and I have to say it because I'm not the only one, try to talk to some locals. If there's the opportunity. Listen, I know some of us are a little more introverted than others. I have a tough time just randomly talking to strangers, but don't be afraid if you can. Ask some locals some questions about the area, especially if you have it high on your list. I think it'll be beneficial for you, and good people will do good things. They'll tell you what's going on in their community, things to like about it, and maybe things not to. Overall, there's a lot to moving from one community to another, from one state to another, and hopefully this has been a decent resource for you. As always, please know that I am a resource for you. If there is a question, something you want to bounce off of me, the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person. Answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails. There, winning if you need me. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. That was navigating the neighborhoods and suburbs of Denver to find a perfect fit for you. Till I see you next time, peace.